Welcome to The Truth in This Art. I am your host, Rob Lee, and it is my pleasure to introduce you to my next guest, an illustrator based out of Juarez, Mexico, who has a passion for character design. Please welcome Dominique Arce. I want to start off by asking you, could you tell us a bit about your background and how'd you get started as an illustrator?
Okay, so long story short, so my brother Oliver, he was into drawing and doing comics when I was like 4, 5, and he was like 13 or something like that. I remember. So watching him influenced me a lot to draw like fan arts of video games characters like Crash Bandicoot or Spyro and stuff. So yeah, I mean, in school I was drawing in the back of my book and all that, but I lost interest real quick. Well, not real quick, but there was some time where I didn't focus on doing illustration in the future. Like I didn't know what I was gonna do, or
Yeah.
Back in 2009, 10, I started again focusing on doing illustration because my brothers were doing like a workshop in comics.
Yeah.
I got back into doing comics and illustration. I wasn't that good. I was frustrated that I wasn't I was comparing myself to other illustrators and shit. So and then before starting college, I was getting commissions and doing getting paid for illustrations, So that is when it hit me okay, yeah, I'm gonna do this for till I die, I guess.
No, thank you. Thank you for sharing that. And I always like to kind of get a temperature on folks where they start off at. And, there's a little bit of a kinship there. I was one of those kids. I was really into comics growing up, and I was like, I'm gonna be a comic book artist. That was a thing for me. And it didn't pan out in that way, but I was able to revisit it in a different way. And I'll share that with you a little later.
Awesome.
So what were some of the comics? You touched on some of the video game stuff, Crash Bandicoot and such, but what were some of the comics and cartoons you were into growing up?
Okay, so funny thing is that I wasn't into comics when I was growing up. Yeah, dude. Yeah. Plot twist. Until recently. So back in the day, my brother was reading Spawn and
nice.
All these superhero stuff, and I just wasn't into it. Okay, cool, but I didn't connect it with those comics and all that. I was more into cartoons, like Ren and Stimpy, Billy and Mandy. I grew up watching PBS Kids a lot. That's how I learned English.
Yeah.
Shout out to Sesame Street and Arthur.
Nice.
Yeah. So another thing, at school I wasn't good at reading. I don't know if it was I had this theory if I had ADHD or something. I just didn't focus a lot on reading. I always got distracted or something like that. So yeah, I was really into cartoons and movies, horror movies. So I watched a ton of that. I wanted to be an animator. So. Yeah. So and then I got to comics because my brother was doing workshop, and I wasn't forced or obligated, but I just wanted to draw,
Yeah, and that's your older brother, right? So
yeah. So
that dynamic as well. It's yeah, totally. My brother's doing this, yeah.
Yeah, but I didn't see a lot of options growing up over here. I just knew one person that studied animation and went off to Mexico to work on animation and all that. But I didn't have any more references on what else to do besides comics, or illustration. People here in Juarez do murals or street art and all that, but there wasn't more reference to, what more can I do? So yeah, I didn't grow up reading comics until right now, and I'm so into manga lately. I binge read, Chainsaw Man like that, bro. I was so hooked on Chainsaw Man, and I discovered Daniel Klaus and and all that, Harvey Picard, all that weird independent stuff,
Yeah.
like just like a slice of life, day-to-day
Yeah.
story.
Are you still into any of the horror stuff? Because I think there's a good entry point for you that's on the top of my on the tip of my tongue.
Oh, not that much. I haven't read that much horror comics. I've discovered like a little, like small portions of horror comics, but not that much.
Check out Junjito.
Oh, dude, yeah, totally.
Yeah.
I forgot about
Okay.
Junjito, yeah.
I was waiting for you to say it. I was just
When I discovered Junjito, it was my brother told me like, dude, there's a story where there are balloons, head balloons, like with a, what do you call it?
Like the string at the bottom.
Like doing all that. And I was like, what the fuck? And then there's like an ice cream dude, like a person eats ice cream and it turns into ice cream.
That is so ridiculous.
Yeah, but it's so cool because I think that's the core of horror, because it doesn't explain nothing. It's the fear of the unknown. So I mean, that's awesome. I'm into that stuff.
I dig that.
Yeah.
So, who are some of the artists that you were into, or who are some of the artists that you were into, or their styles, maybe from the content, whether it be some of the cartoons or what have you, and artists, cartoons, what have you, and how do they show up in your work currently? Looks like some of those influences. Is it this sort of use of color, vibrancy of color, the type of lines that you're using, things of that nature? Where are some of the influences coming from?
Gotcha. So there's different phases in my life where I got references or inspiration, like when I started college, it was Bob Camp, Ren and Stimpy stuff, all that cartoon. And then I discovered Tumblr and all that color art style. And I was like, hey, this is like kind of cool, And then I grew up, I just didn't like it anymore. And I discovered all this like indie, like really punk style, like DIY, nothing clean. It was Oh No Sam, Craig Gleason, all these manga artists, that there's not like really into inking and all that. So basically, yeah, and in the other actually Hank Beard, yeah, him too. So I was very influenced by Instagram people, very heavy on those artists, and yeah.
When it was back when Instagram was more about the visuals, man.
Yeah, dude. Yeah, and lately I've been in Pinterest all day, checking like old works, like really obscure stuff, and it blew my mind. I had this like I always thought that Pinterest it was more like a references for like kitchen and live, laugh, and love and all that. And then one day I like, oh shit, they got some cool shit over here.
You got to find like sort of that right rabbit hole, and you go the right, because I mean that's with all of the sort of weirdos on there, but that's how Reddit is in many regards. And like wherever you find your place, like when I think there's a place that's sort of a repository, right? But to go in and just have an interest and curiosity, I think that's what leads a lot of this stuff. And you start, I think, developing a style. Like I look at it from this standpoint. I want to get your take on it too, as far as like developing your own style. I don't listen to a lot of podcasts, right?
Okay.
Because I think it does a comparison thing, as you touched on a little bit, I think before we started. And I don't try to do that because it's like, oh, well, they asked this question in this way. I don't want that to lean into what I'm doing or make that comparison. But what I do is I might listen to audiobooks, right, that kind of get into the head of an artist and a creative type to kind of like open up the conversation a little bit broader. And that's why I think a lot of times people will tell me like this doesn't really feel like the normal interview. Because it other things that are threads that I'm pulling at, it might be a Dale Carnegie book, right? Like how to win friends and influence people, all of that different stuff that plays a role into some of the thinking that I'm doing. So and I think trying to make it my own, like even Rafi or what have you, I really like dig his stuff and his books or what have you about being a rogue artist. And I was able to and privileged to interview him recently, and
Oh, that's awesome.
I told him, I was like, I steal from you, dude. He was just like, I think you're improving upon it though. And I was like, and you make it your own. I was like, I appreciate it. So I think it's something there because I think a lot of times we are our references, we are our influences, and we make it our own. So for you and going through and make it your own, like, what is it that you maybe take from, let's say, one of those references that you made earlier, those inspirations? Are you taking that line work and saying, all right, I'm going to do this, but I'm going to have it in sort of something that's just really out there, or I'm going to use color or shading or shadows or what have you? Talk about that.
All right. So the style I'm like doing right now, it's a lot of references, like I had to I have a existential crisis and therapy, it helped me a lot to be who I am today.
Yeah.
So I discovered myself and what things I like, and instead of what people like, like doing things so I can get the validation or the likes,
Yeah.
So instead of that, I was like, you know what? I'm going to do the shit that I like, So that helped me a lot developing my art style and what I wanted to do in art wise. So I am into punk flyers, the textures. I'm into halftone. I'm into weird angles. I'm into like portraits of photos, So I just get all that and do it like a milkshake of all that references, So yeah, I mean, I try to experiment a lot, and if it feels good, and if it I don't know, I like it, so I just keep going with that, and eventually it will change throughout the years, Like I'm happy where I'm at right now, but I know that tomorrow's gonna be a new thing, and then the day next, and all that. So, yeah. So people just do a list of things you like, and pow,
Yeah. I think it's one of the things I've heard when it comes to clothes, right? If you buy the stuff stuff that you like is always going to match.
Yes,
to work out, and I think that's a piece of it too, where like that you touched on it earlier, that I think sometimes realizing who you are as a creative and as an artist, you have to take some of those moments to step back, really think it through, and it's like, why am I doing this again? And there is so much noise that floats by that it'll tell you, like, whatever the noise is, it might say, hey, you should do this because this is what's popping right now. You should do this sort of art, this sort of work, or what have you. And then you start losing your voice in it and what actually motivates you and what really gets you going. And you lose of the source of your reasoning for even doing it. Like, what inspired you? What gave you the juice to do it?
What's your purpose?
Yeah, you lose that. You lose that. And I think really recognizing, like, why, like, when I do this, I run into it on occasion. When I do this, I'm not doing it for someone else. I consider people who might listen to it, but it's really for me to steal from you. Like, what do you do? How can I sound more interesting? This, so I did, and then I'll start referencing you in these conversations. Oh yeah, I was speaking to this Juarez artist, right? And out there a reference. That's what happens. So talk about the concept of the process, right? Like, what are the tools that you're using? What are some of those like initial ideas, and what is the finished product? Like, how do you get to that? Like, take us through that process. Like, do you have like a notepad and you got like some ideas of like, I want to do this and I think it's going to look cool, or and when do you feel like you're done too? I mean, I know that there's commissions and deadlines and all of that.
Yeah.
But when you're doing something for yourself, I suppose, tell me about that.
All right. So I have a streetwear brand called the Antagonist Club. The process of doing the t-shirts or the posters or just like a quote is like a day-to-day basis life, like even with the struggles, or even having with the anxieties, or walking outside and thinking things. So think things is weird.
We all think things. What are you saying?
So I bring out my notepad and my cell phone,
Mm-hmm.
and have a ton of ideas, like, oh, this would be cool, or this is a funny quote, or I saw a guy drinking a 2-gallon milk one day and driving, like, what the fuck? This would be a cool comic, you know? So for that, I have like my notepad on my cell phone to write ideas, and when I have a time, like, develop them on sketchbook or digital. And when it comes to like character designs or commissions or just doodling, I have my sketchbook, over here, like,
Mm-hmm.
just like
Nice.
doodle around a lot, like working, like making concepts, like poses, practicing, or just sketching logos and all that. So yeah, so basically the process is, like, I think a lot. I'm an overthinker, so I think a lot of stuff, and it helps me out to develop ideas,
Yeah.
or just walking with my brother, at the neighborhood, just like, hey, it would be cool to do this and that, and oh yes, I mean, if people like struggle with having ideas or getting stuck, like, dude, like, walk with somebody or walk with yourself.
Yeah.
Dude, this is like a brainstorm of ideas, So yeah, basically I just sketch or just work directly on my computer, or sometimes when I have an idea or a commission. I don't know if this is normal or people do this often, but like, I sketch the idea on my head.
Yeah.
So sometimes just one hit, like one sketching done, and it gets cool. Rarely I like sketch a lot of ideas, and yeah, this is the one. But mostly I'm in my head all day sketching, or like mentally,
Yeah.
the concept. So. Mm-hmm.
No, it's great. I think, you're kind of in it. You're
Yes.
always in it. And I think when you're doing it, like, how do you separate sort of, this is, I like to look at creativity
Mm-hmm.
as like an exercise, right? Like, you go to the gym, you're like, all right, this set was the warm up set. This wasn't my best weight or what have
Oh
you.
yeah.
So,
Yes.
so
Yes. Yes.
talk about that. Like, I know there are some instances where when I'm doing this interview, right, and
Mm.
we started and we just kind of like went into it, right, but and sometimes when I'm doing my introduction, I record it multiple times because I screw it up. And I'm like, I'm gonna do another take. I'm gonna do another take. That wasn't the right weight right there, or I didn't fully curl, that creativity there, if you will. So, when you're going through sort of this ideation process, you're getting
Okay.
these ideas, you have these ideas. Like, how do you sort of tier them out and categorize them? Because I seen the book, and thank you for sharing it with me. It's really cool.
Mm.
How do you tier out, like, all right, this is going to fit here. This is how I feel about this work. This was happening in this phase, and maybe I took a little time off, and I was like, all right, I need to get back into the creative
Mm.
groove. How do you separate those?
I think I have two answers. One is just like, if it doesn't like work out, just start over, or just let it go, because sometimes it's a waste of energy, like focusing on something that is not working out. If there's a pose that, dude, I just want to nail this pose of this character, and is it not working out, or the panel, is not like, no, this is weird, I don't like this, start over, let it go, start over, it's fine. And the second answer, what the fuck was it? I forgot. Okay, yeah, the faces, right? Okay. So it's fine to like do something like way back and take a look at it right now, because I mean, at the time there was a reason like why you didn't do it. There was like, maybe your potential wasn't like for this illustration, and now you're comfortable with your art style or your capabilities, you can
Sure.
do it now and maybe execute it better, than before. So yeah, so that's cool. So if you have any like old ideas, just look at them again and maybe you can execute them better
Yeah.
and all that. Yeah.
It's one of those things where maybe this wasn't for right now.
Yes.
You know, I've had the
Exactly.
instances where I'm just not feeling it, and I'll try to do a interview, and I'll say, you know what, let me push through it, because you know how it goes for artists. You can be very unkind to yourself. You think, regardless
Yes.
of how much work you're doing, how many things that you've done. Oh, I'm
Yeah.
not doing enough. I'm lazy. I'm not good. Whatever. Right? The thing is, right?
Yeah.
And there have been times where I'm like, all right, I got one interview today. I got two interviews, what have you. Or there are other times where I might have six. And I'm like,
Mm.
yo, I can't do each one of these. And not banking on the person's going to cancel or what have you. But if I'm not feeling like right going into it, I try to give myself that grace to know that I can return to this at a later date. And,
Mhm.
I think, communicate that and all of that stuff, and give it that space, because, why go into something where you're gonna beat yourself up about it later?
Yeah.
You didn't give your best effort, or it wasn't ideal. Every time is not ideal, and you can't do that all the time. But giving yourself that space sometimes, and almost giving yourself that grace to take that time is important.
Totally. And I don't know, that happened to me because I was comparing myself a lot with our other artists and people doing their routines of work or drawing and all that. We have a friend in our comic group. His name is Dario,
Mhm.
and this guy works really well and turns his deadline quick. He's really quick and good, like really good at doing his work. So back then, I compared myself like, dude, I'm not Dario. Like, I can't work on. I can't deliver 6 pages in 3 days. So it's okay to, that please do not compare yourself,
Yeah.
and you have your own rhythm, your own pacing, So yeah, it's been cool with giving me permission with all that, like like that mental health and all of that stuff. So yeah, I completely agree with you and totally understand all that. So yeah.
It's one of the things. Thank you. It's one of the things we hear often. Of it takes courage to be creative. It takes courage to
Mm,
create, because you have to deal with your own insecurities, your own sort of whatever. Some people
yeah.
are just born with the supreme confidence, never lost, no loss,
Yeah.
straight, no podcast.
they had a good childhood. That's okay.
And and some of us are, we have different stories, and we have different
Yes.
things that are motivators and our keys. Um, and we just have to kind of work with that. So, talk about like being in the community, because you mentioned it a moment ago, like this sort of like comics group or what have you.
Mm,
Talk about the benefits of like being in the community and having folks that kind of like get it. Like I. I know a few people who are creatives and who run into artists, creatives, and so on, that run into similar things that I encounter, trying to treat what I'm doing not as content, because that's another
mm.
conversation, right?
Okay.
Treat it as an artistic and a creative pursuit. And I can have sort of those conversations to have an understanding of, oh, this is normal versus
Yeah.
me. So talk about the importance of being in a community.
So, okay, it's weird because I mean, my brothers and our friends are the only comic community in Juarez. There's other people, but there's no talk about that. Like they have their own thing, they have their own methods, and you know, so but the people who get it, it's I have a friend who is a mural artist, and his name tag is Lovely. So with her, it's been like I've been talking to her to, hey dude, it's fine to do this and experiment a little bit with this. It's fine. Nobody cares. Not in a in a way, in a bad way, like, dude, like, do you know, nobody cares about that, like, experiment, try different things, because she wants to do like fan arts of manga and do a manga style, and she hasn't been doing that earlier. So like, dude, yeah, dude, like, do that, it's another phase for you, to try other things. And with my brothers, when especially Oliver, my other brother, so we have these talks about comics and art. It's we have been growing up mentally about the what it means to do a comic, and because before all this, we've been looking. Well, I've been looking for like validation in the community.
Yeah.
Like, hey, I want to impress people, I want to do this and do that and all that. And now it's like no, I just want to do what I want to do, like, if I can tell a story and I don't have to like put many details on the panel or ink in a special way that is not me. I just want to impress somebody. Like, no, that's not you, and now we kind of get it, like, we kind of been experimenting with our new state of mind about all that. So, and other people too, like, I've been in Juarez, the community, it's more about graphic design.
Yeah.
So people are now like really tired of graphic design. Like, dude, I don't want to do this shit anymore. I don't want to do logos. I don't want to do branding, and I have a buddy who doesn't live here anymore, and he calls me often about, dude, I'm so tired of this shit. I want to do this, and I want to try another stuff. Like, that's I don't know if it's like we're here in our 30s, and we having this existential crisis about what we're gonna do, or
you got to grow up at a certain point.
Yeah, and the stuff I liked before, yeah, I don't like it anymore, and that's kind of weird, because I still like the drawing and illustration, all that stuff, but it's weird when people like discover like, I don't want to do this stuff anymore. And there was a time where I didn't want to do comics or wanted to do illustration, but I tried another stuff, and doing that stuff, it got me back doing the comics and all that. So, it's fine to step away a little bit and discover, and we get it, and the people in the community like gets it, like, oh, that's fine, that's cool. Try this thing or try another thing, or you want to do mural? I'll help you do a mural, man. You see, so you want to do comics? I'll help you do comics. So yeah.
Sometimes you can look too closely to it, right? And I think having that sort of shift in perspective, being able to dabble and play, you're able to see other sources that can kind of open that creativity up. I think, as we get older, I think there's something there. As we get older, we lose the stuff that might be the motivator, because we have, like I said earlier, you have sort of the naysayer in your own head. You have sort of these external factors that are telling you you're not good for whatever reason. But when you think back to maybe why you were creating or why you were drawing, why you were doing art when you were a kid, it's just you wanted to do it. So that's the thing I always go back to.
Back in 2019, I had this, like, I won a grant for doing a comic, but it didn't turn out the way I wanted to turn out, though. So I had this existential crisis I had this imposter syndrome, that, dude, like, I don't want to do comics anymore. I want to try another stuff. I don't want to do this. Maybe I should stick with graphic design and logos and all that. So that's when I started Antagonist Club and doing like stickers and t-shirt designs. And then it hit me like, dude, I want to do comics again. I want to do all this shit again, So yeah, that's good.
Yeah, I think, sometimes taking that bit of a break, but kind of staying in that lane, because I see, the merch artists, and you're definitely keying in on like really exploring what your niche is, what your area is, what interests you, and, in doing this, for 14 years, I've been a podcaster. For the first 10 of that, I was just doing sort of a solo thing with a couple of friends, and it was pop culture, weird news, a lot of fun, right?
Yeah.
And when it gets to doing this in 2019, it's almost like a crapshoot, of, all right, I got the guest. I try not to spend too much time talking to the guest before the interview because I think you lose something. I think it doesn't feel like as organic as just like that first conversation. That's what I'm shooting for. Gotcha. And just seeing what you get. But sometimes the risk with that is you don't know if they're up that day. You don't know if they've had a good day, bad day. So it's always a sort of risk with it. But, as I continue down this path, being driven by curiosity, I'm able to tap back into like, oh, this is what I like about it. This is like meeting a new person. It's in some ways it's like a blind date with creatives. Yeah,
it's kind of
a blind date at the same time.
That's cool. You're doing a good job, by the way.
Well, thank you. So I got two more real questions for you, and then I got some rapid fire ones. So
gotcha.
All right.
Dale.
Let's. I've been listening to a lot of Pitbull this week. So
really?
Yes. So do not hit me with dollar. Yo, how do you manage your time and like staying organized? Like, I'm running into that myself. Like, last year I put out, not even recorded, I recorded more, but I put out 300 podcasts last year.
Damn, that's a lot.
It's a lot to do. And people look at me like I'm a madman. And I had a really tight schedule that worked, and I was able to kind of flex it. But that's
almost one by day, right?
Yeah,
that's crazy.
Yes. And,
wow.
And it's cool, but at the same time, it's like something I did it. I don't know if I want to do that again. It takes a lot to get that sorted and organized. Whereas
I imagine
now I'm doing considerably less, but this is the part where it's the busiest part. It's like I might have on average 10 interviews in a given week. And I'm like, all right, I thought I was doing less this year. Why does it feel like I'm doing like as much? But I know that's only for a short term. And then it's going to be these kind of planned out breaks, because you got to work at a certain cadence. And I've gotten that advice from talking to folks and figuring out like, all right, what works? You don't have to just be running yourself ragged. And maybe it's like, look, I'm going to, do some interviews here, and then I'm going to take a break, and I might explore culturally. I might switch mediums for a little bit, but having a schedule is what's giving me that sort of bandwidth and ability to do that. So, with however it might work, how does scheduling and kind of juggling multiple projects work for you?
Damn, I don't know if I'm the right person to talk about that. I'm the worst. I think I'm the worst. There's days that I can just sit here and work all day. Like take a break or take a nap or eat. Or go out, and then I just work all night doing the comic or illustrations. But I'm really bad at doing multitasking, so I gotta finish a project first, or I just finish one thing and then to the next, because I can't work on other things. Like my mind is focused on this thing. I'm inspired by this thing. I can't do like I'm gonna draw a leg right here, and then I can do another commission.
Yeah.
I can't do that. I suck at that.
I've heard that there is a thing that people throw out there, multitasking and all of that. Apparently, it doesn't really exist. It's really this, I think, and I think you probably can do it. I just think it's reshaping it, right? So I think when it's something that takes a lot of your attention, you got to do something that takes minimal of your attention. So, you have high focus and low focus tasks. That's actually how we define like multitasking.
Okay. Yeah. Totally.
If I'm trying to do two podcasts at the same time, how is that going to happen? It's going to sound stupid. And I'm like, mute this, talk here, mute that. It doesn't quite work. So if you're doing something creative, like working on the design, working on something for a t-shirt or what have you, I think knocking off projects, that's the way to do it. And trying to multitask with it, you're just going to confuse yourself.
Yeah.
it might be, hey, I want to read this book. Let me listen to the audiobook while I work on this illustration. That's actually the multitasking, I think.
Yeah. Yeah, it's crazy. Yeah, you're correct. My brother listens to podcasts or streams while working, and I mean, I don't know how he does it, but he's great at multitasking about that. Another thing, it's maybe put attention in what hours your brain likes to work. I'm a night person, like just my everything just shuts off and I can be here drawing all night. But in the day, I get distracted by a ton of shit, I gotta clean the kitchen or send some emails. So I tend to do the small work in the morning, the heavy work at night, so I can feel like I did something in the morning, and
it seems
all
like,
night. It
seems like you know what you're doing, though. It seems like you are planning out a way a lot of people do it, actually. So
I just wing it, bro. Really.
No. Don't be hard on yourself. I'm telling you this. I think that's knowing sort of the prime hours. If you know that you're a night owl,
Yes.
then the stuff that is the work, actually, like the stuff that's not the fun part. I'm the master of the scheduled email.
Okay.
Like I will sit there in Gmail, like, let me write these questions. I don't want to give them like 2 weeks to look at them. I'm gonna send it like 2 or 3 days before the interview. Here you go, but I'm gonna schedule it. Otherwise, it's gonna be on the top of my mind. So I'll ask folks, and I'm famous for this in the beginning, like, did I send you questions? Because I'll forget if I sent them. So that's kind of how that is. But definitely scheduling it and letting sort of technology facilitate that. It doesn't need to have me, occupied, or even scheduling like the posts for these interviews. So when I put them out, I'm like, all right, let me go into Canva, let me schedule this, and I can be done with it. But I'll do something like that in the morning, or do something like that on a Monday morning when I'm at my freshest and the world hasn't beaten me down completely.
Yeah, totally.
So this last real question for you. This is almost a primer, if you will, for the rapid fire, because we look for those short answers here. So broadly speaking, what are 3 words that come to mind when you think of the term creativity?
Oh, yeah. I was joking with my brother and I said pressure, stress, and happy. Like I think it's like a real 3 words, that because you can be happy or it can be sort of pressure when creating things. And stress not so much, but it comes with the routine of being creative, because you gotta get money, too. So, but it makes me happy that I'm doing the stuff I like, but maybe it could be like stressful. Maybe it could be like a happy moment. Maybe it could be full of pressure, but mostly I've been enjoying my creative routine right now because I've been very happy with creating stuff, So mostly of those 3 is like really happy, but last year I was working at an agency, and it was like really stressful being creative, It could be stressful being creative, because they pay you to be creative, but dude, I can't this day, dude, but
you're creative on the clock.
Yes.
Yeah. Which feels different than, I guess, doing contractual work and doing stuff that has a deadline, but it almost runs counter. It's like some businesses, and I don't know all of them, obviously, but some businesses, they want to not invest in a sort of art department. They want to bring in someone to do some creative stuff, but they want to run it like it's a job. And the culture, I think, in an art department is a lot different than what a lot of these jobs that bring in artists do. So I run into it with, from a podcast perspective, where I was like, they have full audio divisions for this, right? And it's so many folks that'll hit me up. Hey, I'm interested in doing a pod, or hey, we have an opportunity, businesses and such. And I'm like, so do you have a marketing budget? Because this feels like a marketing conversation. Oh, no, we, thought we could do it for love of the game or something like that. And I was like, cool, you have no idea how much work goes into this at times. So definitely it's a different feeling though. And I like being able to do conversations like this. There's some freedom in it of just kind of like shooting a breeze with someone, but also answering some questions, because I can guarantee you there's someone that's going to relate to what you're saying in this conversation. That
I hope so.
I think that, no, absolutely. And I think they're going to feel a bit of inspiration. They're going to be like, oh, it's not only me, so.
And I want to be like, I don't want to be corny or like, no, this is so like rainbows and it's pretty awesome doing this. I just want to be real as possible that, we're humans, and there could be stress, there can be a moment of happiness, but yeah.
Sí, correcto.
Yes.
I appreciate that. I appreciate the sort of honesty and relatability that's here. I mean,
awesome.
So,
cool.
I want to kick out these rapid fire questions for you in these final moments of this just chat. So, I talked a little bit earlier, like I was a person that was doing a little bit of the sketching and the drawing and all of that stuff back in the day. What is your favorite part of a character to illustrate?
Oh shit. The face.
Okay.
Doing expressions. Yesterday I was doing a panel and I was fucking laughing my ass off doing the faces, dude. Oh, this is fucking awesome. This fucking face. Dude. I was like laughing all alone up here in the studio, My brothers were sleeping. I was just like laughing like a
hyena.
So expressions, I like doing poses, I like doing, but mostly faces, expressions. Yeah.
On a converse of that, what do you have trouble drawing all the time?
Angles, perspectives, backgrounds. Trees. I hate drawing trees.
I used to hate drawing hands, actually.
Hands?
Yeah, hands suck. I hate them. I wish I didn't have hands.
Just like a mitten, right? Easy.
Just that's why all of the Disney characters only had 3 or 4 fingers, because they hated drawing hands.
Yeah. Hands I didn't like. I grew up drawing like really bad hands, but practice makes perfect, I guess. So yeah.
Okay, this is the last 3. How many hours of sleep do you get on average?
Oh my god.
It's a self-care part of the podcast. I got to ask the artist. I got to make sure y'all good.
I try to get 8, but I've been sleeping at 2 a.m. and waking up at 9 a.m. So that makes 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 7. So, and then I take a nap, like 2-hour nap or 1.
Oh, you good then? You're good.
Yeah. So I'm okay, but yeah.
your boy is working off of. I got up at 4 a.m. and I think I went to sleep at maybe 11:30, maybe midnight.
Oh, that's bad.
Yeah, I'll say this: I had 4 cups of coffee yesterday, and 2 of them were after 5. So I was not doing well. I had too much caffeine in the system.
Dangerous.
Yeah, I live a dangerous life. So what has gotten you further, street smarts or book smarts?
I suck at book smarts. I don't know history. I don't know geography. I suck at both languages, Spanish and English. So street smarts.
That's great.
I mean, I think I'm a smart person, but I'm not like, hey, who did this at this year? Like, bro, I don't know. Don't ask me. My biggest fear is like going to a mall or Walmart and then those like prank questions, like, hey, who did this?
It's like,
no, don't record me, please.
I'm a trivia guy. So I'm a trivia guy, right? And I have those random facts sitting here, but definitely I think being able to kind of find a sweet spot between the two, that's what served me well, where it's like I'm always always have a chip on my shoulder that I think I'm going to be the dumb person in the conversation. But
Yeah, me too.
watching a level or two above my weight class, I feel like I can hide it very well, and that's where the street smarts come in. I was like, yeah, I know how to navigate this room. That's exactly. I'm strategic.
I relate to that a lot because people tell me, "Hey, you're smart, right?" Well, not right. They're confirming I'm smart, and then like, how do you notice, or when did I say something smart? I'm just talking dumb stuff, I'm just like quoting TikTok quotes and all that.
I'll just say, look, I hacked into their phone. That's how I knew it already.
I had a cheat sheet,
Literally.
So,
and like I said, I reference other people who I think are more interesting than I am. That's what I do. So this is the last one I got for you. What's your favorite snack?
I think I have a favorite snack right now, and it's trail mix. Like with dry bananas and M&Ms and all that. It's really, really basic,
Yeah.
We have here Chips Fuego, they're like this purple bag of spicy chips,
It's like Takis?
It's the same brand, but it's not Takis. But
Okay.
they're called chips over here. Chips moradas, we call them. So chips moradas and trail mix and what else? No sé qué. I think that's it,
Look, you're going to make me end up bringing back. I had this idea, again, thinking about ideas. I had this idea of reviewing different snacks.
That's
Like
awesome.
as a podcast, and like definitely having an international bent to it because you're in Juarez, right? So
Yeah.
so definitely having sort of like, what do they got in Mexico? Like macroly speaking, Mexico's huge. So it's just like, what do they have in Mexico? Thinking about it really, it's like which part though?
Yeah, I love that dynamic where people bring out like candies and all that and foreign candies. Yeah.
Mhm.
So like watching these people like try Japanese or Mexican stuff, like
Yeah.
that's really looks fun. I want to do that.
So look, we're gonna have another podcast. It's just two bald guys on there talking about snacks. Here it goes.
Awesome.
Black
Where
and
you from? Where you from, Rob?
East Baltimore.
Okay, gotcha. Send me your PO box or address so I can send you like this chips moradas.
Hell yeah, I'll send you something there myself.
Woo!
So let me do my wrap up and be a professional while I'm like over here connecting. So one, I want to thank you for being on the podcast and taking the
Oh,
time.
thank you. Man. Have fun.
Yeah, and I want to invite and encourage you to plug away. Tell the folks where they can check you out, your work, social media, website. The floor is yours.
Gotcha. So I'm on Instagram always. You can search me Dominique_Arce and my streetwear brand Antagonist Club _. So yeah, you can search me in Instagram, and I'm launching soon antagonistclub.com. So just be aware of that in the future. And yeah, basically that's it, and Twitter too, but I don't use it that much. I just retweet like drawings and stupid shit. So yeah, Dominique Arce, just yep.
So there you have it, folks. I want to again thank Dominique Arce for coming on to the podcast. And I'm Rob Lee, saying that there's art and culture in and around your neck of the woods. You've just got to look for it.